You want to know what happens after 10 days without water, and the truth is going to hit you harder than you expect. Before I tell you the brutal reality of dehydration and why understanding this could save your life or someone you care about, do me one favor right now. Subscribe to this channel because what I'm about to share isn't just information, it's survival knowledge that mainstream sources won't give you straight. When society collapses, when infrastructure fails, when clean water becomes scarce, you need to know exactly what your body goes through and how to prevent it. So hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and stay with me until the end, because by the time we're done, you'll understand why water is the single most critical resource in any emergency scenario and what actually happens when it runs out. Let's get something clear from the start. 10 days without water is not a survival timeline, it's a death sentence. The human body cannot survive 10 days without water under normal conditions. The reality is far more urgent and terrifying than most people realize. You have approximately 3 days, maybe 4 if you're lucky and conditions are perfect, before your body begins shutting down completely. The rule of threes in survival is not a suggestion, it's biological law. 3 minutes without air, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. Water sits right there in the critical zone, and understanding why will change how you prepare for any emergency. Within the first 24 hours without water, your body is already sending distress signals. You feel thirsty, obviously, but what's happening beneath the surface is your blood volume beginning to drop. Your heart has to work harder to pump blood through your system because there's less fluid available. Your kidneys start conserving water desperately, which means your urine becomes dark, concentrated, and eventually stops altogether. You might feel a headache coming on, that pressure behind your eyes that tells you something is wrong. Your mouth gets dry, your lips crack, and swallowing becomes uncomfortable. These aren't just minor inconveniences. They're your body's emergency warning system telling you that cellular function is being compromised. By the end of day 2, the situation becomes critical. Your blood pressure drops significantly because there's not enough fluid to maintain proper circulation. Your heart rate increases, trying to compensate, but it's fighting a losing battle. You become dizzy when you stand up because blood can't reach your brain quickly enough. Your cognitive function starts declining, you have trouble focusing, making decisions becomes harder, and your judgment gets impaired. This is when people in survival situations make fatal mistakes. They can't think clearly enough to find water or recognize sources they might have missed. Your kidneys are now in serious distress, barely filtering toxins from your blood, and the waste products building up in your system start poisoning you from the inside. Day 3 is where most people reach the point of no return. Your body temperature regulation fails. Without enough water, you can't sweat properly, which means you can't cool down in heat. In cold conditions, blood flow to your extremities shuts down to protect vital organs. Your skin loses elasticity completely. If you pinch it, it stays tented instead of snapping back. Your eyes sink into your skull. Your tongue swells. Muscle cramps become agonizing because the electrolyte balance in your body is completely destroyed. Sodium, potassium, chloride, all the minerals that keep your nerves firing and muscles contracting are now at dangerous levels. You're confused, possibly hallucinating, and your body is beginning the process of organ failure. If somehow you make it to day 4 or 5, you're in territory where survival is almost impossible without immediate medical intervention. Your kidneys have likely stopped functioning. Toxins that should be filtered out are circulating freely through your bloodstream, poisoning your brain, heart, and liver. Your blood has thickened to the point where your heart can barely pump it. You're experiencing severe confusion, possibly seizures, and your body temperature is either dangerously high or dangerously low because thermoregulation has completely failed. Your cells are dying en masse because they can't maintain the chemical reactions necessary for life without adequate hydration. So what about 10 days? The honest answer is that you won't make it to 10 days. Studies of death from dehydration show that under average conditions, death occurs between 3 to 7 days, with most fatalities happening around day 4 or 5. The variables that extend or shorten this timeline include environmental temperature, your activity level, your starting health and hydration status, humidity, and whether you have any moisture intake at all from food. In extremely cool conditions with minimal physical activity, someone might stretch to 6 or 7 days, But 10 days is beyond the biological limits of human survival without water. The documented cases of extreme dehydration paint a clear picture. During natural disasters, shipwrecks, and desert survival situations, death from dehydration follows a predictable pattern. The 2010 Haiti earthquake left thousands without clean water, and within 72 hours, hospitals reported massive casualties from dehydration-related complications. Survivors described watching people deteriorate from functional to delirious to dead within just a few days. Desert hikers who run out of water and get lost rarely survive past the third day if temperatures are high. The Mojave Desert claims lives regularly this way. People found dead less than a mile from water sources because they couldn't think clearly enough to find them. What makes dehydration so deadly is that it's not just about losing water, it's about losing the ability to maintain every single cellular function in your body. Water is the medium for all chemical reactions in your cells. It transports nutrients, removes waste, regulates temperature, lubricates joints, protects organs, and maintains blood pressure. When water levels drop below critical thresholds, none of these processes work properly. Your DNA can't replicate, proteins can't fold correctly, enzymes can't catalyze reactions, and cellular membranes start breaking down. The brain is particularly vulnerable. It's approximately 73% water, and even mild dehydration affects cognitive function. As dehydration progresses, brain cells shrink. The brain can actually pull away from the skull, causing severe headaches and potentially rupturing blood vessels. Confusion and delirium set in not just because of toxin buildup, but because the brain literally doesn't have enough fluid to function. People in advanced dehydration often don't recognize family members, can't remember their own names, and have no idea where they are or what's happening. Your cardiovascular system collapses under severe dehydration. The heart needs adequate blood volume to fill its chambers and pump effectively. As blood volume drops, the heart beats faster and faster, trying to compensate, but eventually it can't maintain sufficient pressure. Blood pools in your core, leaving your extremities cold and blue. Organs begin dying from lack of oxygen. Your kidneys fail first, followed by your liver, and eventually your heart simply stops beating because it can't pump the thick, sludgy blood remaining in your system. Now here's what you actually need to know for survival. Understanding the timeline isn't about morbid curiosity, it's about knowing your priorities in any emergency. Water comes first, always. Before shelter, before food, before almost anything else except immediate life threats like bleeding or exposure. You need to secure water. A healthy adult needs approximately 2 to 3 liters of water per day just to maintain normal function, more if you're in hot conditions or physically active. In a survival situation, you need at least 1 liter per day as an absolute minimum, and even that will leave you operating below optimal levels. Finding water in an emergency means knowing where to look and what's actually safe. Rivers, streams, and lakes are obvious sources, but they're also frequently contaminated with bacteria, parasites, and chemical pollutants. Drinking contaminated water can kill you just as surely as dehydration, sometimes faster if you contract cholera or severe dysentery. You must purify any water you find. Boiling for at least 1 minute at sea level, 3 minutes at higher altitudes, kills virtually all pathogens. Chemical purification with iodine or chlorine tablets works, but takes time and affects taste. Portable water filters can remove bacteria and protozoa, but typically don't filter viruses or chemicals. Water collection goes beyond obvious sources. Morning dew can be collected by tying absorbent cloth around your legs and walking through grass at dawn, then wringing out the cloth into a container. Rainwater is generally safe to drink if collected properly, avoiding the first few minutes of rainfall, which washes pollutants from the air and collection surfaces. Underground water sources like springs are often cleaner than surface water but still require purification. Even in deserts, water exists if you know where to look. Plant transpiration bags, where you tie a clear plastic bag around leafy branches, can collect condensation. Solar stills can extract moisture from soil, though they're labor-intensive and produce small amounts. Understanding your body's hydration needs means recognizing the early warning signs and acting immediately. The moment you feel thirsty, you're already mildly dehydrated. By the time your urine is dark yellow or amber, you're in moderate dehydration. If urination stops or becomes painful, you're in dangerous territory. The skin turgor test, Pinching the back of your hand and watching how quickly it returns to normal gives you a quick assessment. If it stays tented for more than 2 seconds, you need water urgently. Dizziness when standing, confusion, extreme fatigue, and rapid heartbeat are all red flags that dehydration is reaching critical levels. Rationing water is a common mistake that kills people. If you have water, drink it. Your body can't store extra water for later use. It processes what it needs and eliminates the rest. Trying to stretch a small amount of water over many days by sipping minimally doesn't work. You'll still dehydrate, just slower, and you'll be operating at reduced physical and mental capacity the entire time. The correct strategy is to drink enough to maintain function, then focus all your energy on finding more water. A hydrated person thinks clearly, moves efficiently, and can work to solve problems. A dehydrated person makes mistakes, works slowly, and often dies within sight of salvation. Temperature management becomes critical when water is scarce. In heat, every degree of body temperature rise increases your water needs exponentially. Staying cool means seeking shade, avoiding exertion during the hottest parts of the day, and wearing light-colored, loose-fitting clothing that allows air circulation. In extreme heat, you can lose liters of water per hour through sweat, and if you can't replace it, death comes within hours, not days. The 2003 European heat wave killed over 70,000 people, many from dehydration complicated by heat stroke, because they couldn't maintain adequate hydration in the extreme temperatures. In cold conditions, dehydration is insidious because you don't feel as thirsty. Cold air is dry, and every breath you take removes moisture from your body. You're still losing water through respiration and urination, but the cold suppresses your thirst response. People in winter survival situations often die with dehydration as a contributing factor because they simply didn't drink enough. Your body also works harder to maintain core temperature in cold conditions, which increases metabolic water needs even though you're not sweating visibly. The question of substitutes for water comes up constantly in survival discussions. Can you drink urine? Only as an absolute last resort, and it's not a solution. It's a temporary delay. Fresh urine is sterile and contains water, but it also contains urea and other waste products your kidneys filtered out. Drinking it puts those toxins back into your system, forcing your kidneys to filter them again, which actually uses more water than you gain. After the first cycle, your urine becomes increasingly concentrated and toxic, making it dangerous to drink. People who survive by drinking urine typically only do so once or twice in extreme emergencies before finding actual water. Seawater will kill you faster than no water at all. The salt concentration in seawater is higher than your body can process. Drinking it forces your kidneys to use precious water from your tissues to dilute and eliminate the salt. You end up more dehydrated than before you drank, and the process accelerates kidney failure. Shipwreck survivors who drink seawater typically die within days, hallucinating and in agony as their organs shut down. The only way to make seawater safe is through desalination, either by distillation or reverse osmosis, which requires equipment most people don't have in emergencies. Blood is also not a viable water substitute. It contains nutrients and liquid, but it's also full of proteins and salts that require water to process. Drinking blood, whether your own or from animals, creates the same problem as drinking seawater. Your kidneys have to work harder to filter it than the water content provides. Traditional survival instructors sometimes mention it, but modern survival science is clear that it's counterproductive. Alcohol and caffeine both dehydrate you. They're diuretics, meaning they increase urine production, causing you to lose more water than you consume. In a survival situation, drinking beer, wine, or coffee actually accelerates dehydration. If you have access to these liquids and nothing else, you can gain some benefit by letting the alcohol evaporate first, or diluting them significantly with water, but they're never optimal choices. The historical sailors who drank rum rations did so because they had access to water, not as a replacement for it. Food without water becomes problematic because digestion requires water. Your body pulls water from other tissues to process food, which can worsen dehydration. This is why the survival rule puts food after water. If you're severely dehydrated, eating, especially proteins, which require the most water to digest, can actually push you closer to organ failure. In true survival emergencies with no water, It's better to conserve energy and avoid eating than to consume food your body can't safely process. Water storage and preparation before emergencies is where most people fail. You need at least 1 gallon per person per day stored for emergencies, more if you live in hot climates or have medical conditions. That means a family of 4 needs a minimum of 12 gallons for a 3-day emergency, and that's just for drinking and minimal hygiene. Serious preppers maintain 2 weeks to a month of water storage, rotated regularly to prevent contamination. Water storage containers must be food-grade plastic or glass, kept away from sunlight and chemicals, and sealed properly. Adding a few drops of unscented household bleach per gallon can prevent bacterial growth during long-term storage. Water purification equipment should be in every emergency kit. Portable filters, purification tablets, and the knowledge to boil water safely can mean the difference between survival and death. A simple stainless steel container and the ability to make fire gives you water purification capability anywhere. More advanced options like LifeStraw devices, Sawyer filters, or Steripen ultraviolet purifiers provide additional security, but they require maintenance and eventually wear out. Multiple backup methods ensure you're never without the ability to make water safe. Understanding your local water sources before emergencies happen is critical preparation. Where is the nearest stream, pond, or lake? How would you access it if roads were blocked? Are there natural springs in your area? Does your home have a water heater that contains 40 to 50 gallons of potentially drinkable water? Do you know how to shut off and drain your pipes to access the water inside them? These questions need answers before the crisis, not during it. Municipal water systems fail more often than people realize. Hurricanes, earthquakes, floods, power outages, and infrastructure failures can leave entire cities without running water for days or weeks. The 2021 Texas freeze left millions without water, and many people weren't prepared. Stores sold out of bottled water within hours. People who hadn't stored water were melting snow, which many didn't know how to purify properly, leading to illness. Those who prepared had water and could focus on other survival needs while their neighbors scrambled desperately. Chemical contamination of water supplies is an invisible threat that's becoming more common. Industrial spills, agricultural runoff, and aging infrastructure leach heavy metals, pesticides, and toxic chemicals into water sources. The Flint, Michigan water crisis showed how entire populations can be poisoned by their water supply. Standard purification methods like boiling and basic filters don't remove chemical contaminants. You need activated carbon filters or reverse osmosis systems for that level of purification. In emergency situations, knowing whether your local water is chemically contaminated could save you from drinking water that seems clean but is actually poisonous. The psychological aspect of dehydration is rarely discussed but critically important. As dehydration progresses, your ability to make rational decisions collapses. You become irritable, confused, and prone to panic. Groups in survival situations often fall apart due to dehydration-induced conflict and poor decision-making. Recognizing these signs in yourself and others allows you to identify when someone needs water urgently, even if they're not communicating clearly. Children and elderly people are particularly vulnerable because they have lower water reserves and less efficient thermoregulation. Medical conditions complicate water needs significantly. Diabetes, kidney disease, heart conditions, and many medications increase hydration requirements. Diarrhea and vomiting from illness or food poisoning can dehydrate you rapidly, sometimes fatally, if you can't replace fluids. Oral rehydration solutions, which contain specific ratios of salts and sugars to optimize water absorption, should be part of medical emergency supplies. The World Health Organization's formula has saved millions of lives in cholera and dysentery outbreaks by preventing dehydration death even when clean water is scarce. Physical injuries increase water needs because your body uses water for healing. Blood loss, burns, and infections all demand additional hydration. A person with severe burns can lose liters of fluid through damaged skin. Someone fighting an infection runs a fever that increases water loss through sweating and respiration. In disaster scenarios where medical care is limited, maintaining hydration in injured people becomes a primary survival concern that directly affects their chances of recovery. The reality that nobody wants to face is that in a true long-term collapse scenario, water becomes currency. It's more valuable than gold because you can't survive without it. Communities will form around water sources. Conflicts will erupt over access. People will die from contaminated water because they had no choice but to drink it or die of thirst. Understanding this harsh reality means preparing now, while water flows freely from your tap, for the possibility that it might not always be that way. Advanced water procurement techniques go beyond basic collection. Atmospheric water generators can pull moisture directly from humid air, though they require power. Deep wells with hand pumps provide reliable water independent of surface contamination. Rainwater collection systems on roofs can provide thousands of gallons during rainy seasons. Water recycling systems that purify gray water from washing for reuse stretch limited supplies. These aren't just prepper fantasies. They're practical solutions that people worldwide use daily in water-scarce regions. The 10-day timeline you asked about isn't just about what happens to one person's body. It's about what happens to communities when water runs out. 10 days without water means mass casualties. It means complete social breakdown. It means that everyone who wasn't prepared, everyone who thought it couldn't happen to them, everyone who ignored the warnings, they're gone. The survivors are the ones who understood that water is life, who prepared, who stored supplies, who learned purification methods, who scouted sources, and who maintained the physical and mental discipline to prioritize hydration, even when everything else was falling apart. You need to understand that dehydration death is not peaceful. It's not like falling asleep. It's agonizing. Your body fights with everything it has to survive. You experience severe pain, confusion, and terror as your system shut down one by one. The cramps are excruciating. The headaches are blinding. The inability to think clearly is maddening. Your last hours are spent in delirium, possibly hallucinating, definitely suffering. This is the reality that should motivate every single person watching this to take water security seriously. The knowledge I've shared today isn't theoretical. It's based on medical research, survival case studies, and the documented experiences of people who've faced water scarcity in disasters, wilderness situations, and collapse scenarios. Every fact about the dehydration timeline, every technique for finding and purifying water, every warning about mistakes people make, comes from real events where people lived or died based on their water decisions. This is the information that saves lives when nothing else matters. So what do you do right now today to prevent ever facing a 10-day countdown to death from dehydration? You start by storing water, at least a 3-day supply for everyone in your household, ideally much more. You acquire and learn to use water purification equipment. You identify every possible water source within walking distance of your home. You practice water collection and purification techniques before you need them in an emergency. You make water security part of your emergency planning just as seriously as food, shelter, and security. And you share this information with people you care about, because they need to know it too. This is survival knowledge that most people never learn until it's too late. The mainstream sources give you sanitized versions that don't prepare you for reality. They tell you to store some bottled water and you'll be fine. They don't explain the brutal timeline of dehydration. They don't teach you how to find water when infrastructure collapses. They don't prepare you for the hard decisions you'll face when water runs out and people are desperate. And if you want to go deeper, you'll find in the pinned comments some guides and documents that can take your preparedness to the next level. Detailed information about water storage, purification systems, and source identification that goes beyond what we can cover in one video. Check them out when you're ready to take your water security seriously. Now, if this information opened your eyes to something you didn't understand before, if you realized you're not as prepared as you thought, or if you're committed to making sure you and your family never face death from dehydration, then prove it. Like this video right now so more people can find it. Comment below and tell me what you're doing to secure your water supply. Share this with someone who needs to see it, someone who's not prepared, someone who doesn't understand that water is the difference between life and death in emergencies. And subscribe to this channel, because I'm not here to entertain you with comfortable lies. I'm here to teach you what you need to know to survive when the world stops being comfortable. Turn on notifications so you never miss information that could save your life. The water is running, your time to prepare is now, And every day you wait is one day less of security you have when everything goes wrong.